Hello and thanks for tuning in. I'm Daniel Kovac and today we're going to talk about downloading Yahoo Finance data using R. First we're going to fire up a web browser and direct it to Yahoo Finance, and then we're going to wait because Spectrum stinks worse than Hillary Clinton's colostomy bag. So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this part. Alright, so my page is finally loaded, so I'd like to pull data for the S&P 500 index. So I click on the search bar, just type in S&P, and as you see in the list of suggestions, S&P 500 comes right up. So I go ahead and click on that, and as you can see, there's a variety of different data available to me, but I'm going to go ahead and click on historical data, and then go to download data. And what that's going to do is it's going to send a request via a URL back to Yahoo, which is going to pull up some CSV data as you see here. This is what we're going to use to create a function to pull up data for an arbitrary symbol. So now I'm going to open up a trusty terminal window. I'm in Mac OS X, but it'll work just fine in Linux or Windows or whatever operating system you're using. I'm going to use the read CSV and URL functions to capture the data we previously downloaded in the browser. So we just paste in that link we copied, and as you see, it takes a little bit, but we receive exactly the data that we got in the browser. Next, I want to be able to create a URL to get as much data as I can from Yahoo for an arbitrary symbol, and I'm going to call that function getURL. It's going to have as an argument the symbol that I want, and basically I'm going to just alter the URL string above to get me that data. I'm going to use the paste function to glue together pieces of the URL and combine that with the symbol that I want. So I'm going to cheat here and I'm going to grab just that one part of the URL up until the S equals, and then I'm going to add my symbol to it, and then I'm going to grab the other piece. Now if you notice, there's a lot of extra stuff here that I don't need. I want to skip ahead to the ampersand G equals and copy that up to ignore CSV, then close out my function. So just to show you that it works, let's go ahead and get URL for Apple. And as you see, it returns to me that URL. So now I just have to replicate the same steps I did above to go ahead and get that CSV. So I'm going to create a function, getData, because this is going to actually get the data from Yahoo using a very similar means. I just create a function for it of that symbol, and I'm going to return the read CSV function applied to the URL function, and I'm going to go ahead and this time insert my function call to getURL. So all I did was basically generalize what I did in the first line to an arbitrary symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and close out my function here, and just to show you that it works, we're going to assign some data for Apple to a data frame that I'm calling df. So I go ahead and insert my function call here, get data for the symbol Apple, and close that out, and now that data is assigned to df. Now that we have a variable containing the data, we're free to manipulate it as we see fit. So first we're going to do a summary, and now we can see all the columns that are returned to us. So we have the date, open, high, low, close, volume, as well as the adjusted close. Again, this is daily data. Using the nRow function, we can determine how many rows are returned to us, and using the head and tail function, we can see the data at the beginning and at the end of the data frame, respectively. Notice how all the column names in the data frame begin with a capital letter. Might be a little pedantic, but I'm going to go ahead and change all those to lowercase letters using the toLower function and the colnames function. As you can see now, the column names are corrected, but we still have another problem, and that is that the data begins with the most recent date first. In general, when you're making a trading strategy, you want to have your data flow sequentially in time. So what I want to do now is order this data frame with respect to the date, having the earliest dates first and the later dates last. Right now, R doesn't understand that that date column is in fact a date. It just thinks it's a string, so what we need to do is use the asDate function to tell R that in fact that is a date object, and then use the order function to sort with respect to it. Now we can see that the data is ordered correctly. And that's it. So what did we do? We took a URL string used to request data from Yahoo. Then we made some changes to it so as to request as much data as possible for an arbitrary symbol. In this case, that symbol happened to be a stock. But Yahoo actually lets you request daily data for a lot of other things too, like futures and commodities. All you have to do is go to Yahoo Finance and figure out what that symbol is. Thanks again for tuning in. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.